When we're young, we have an amazing, positive outlook about how great life is going to be, but somewhere along the line, we forget to dream and end up settling. Join Up Dots features amazing people who refuse to give up and chose to go after their dreams. This is your blueprint for greatness. So here's your host, live from the back of his garden in the UK, David Ralph.
Hello everybody, how are we? How are we out there? Welcome to episode 46 of Join Up Dots. This episode really, I suppose, emphasises everything that I wanted the show to be about. The guest today is really a creator of his own future. He is trying things, he's moving things around, he's shaking, zigging and zagging with the best of them. And I don't want every show to be absolute A-listers, but all the listeners out there are thinking, I'm never going to be like that. What I want to get contrast. And I think today's guest, after we discuss it, you'll say, yes, this is something I can do. I can make my own future. I can get off my backside and hustle. And today's guest is really a man who over the last few years after leaving college has hustled and taken a huge amount of action. He knew he wanted to have his own business. He knew that he didn't want to work the 9 to 5, but other than that dream, he had no idea at all. So setting himself a deadline of 5 years to start and run his own business, he set off on a path that he could never have dreamt of at the beginning. Flexing his hustle muscle, he's done many things in a time frame that seems almost too audacious. Managing to keep working a regular gig at nights, he has started the Billionsuccess blog and podcast, whose goal is to help all of us create our own successful startups by sharing inspiring stories of success and, I suppose, failures too. He's the co-founder of Triplefy, an online service that allows businesses to sell their own deals, similar to Groupon, without the substantial cost and potential inconvenience of having to go through a third-party company. And if that is not enough, he still works for a security company and has the time restraints that a father and husband has day to day. So how has he done all this and remained sane and youthful looking too? Well, let's find out as we introduce you to the one and only Herby Fabius. How are you today, Herby?
I'm doing great, David. Thank you for having me.
You are a hustle monster, aren't you?
Well, I tried. I try. I mean, it's not easy, but it's definitely something that I've always wanting to do. I've always tried to do better, and I have people to support in my life, and it kind of keeps me on the go. It's you got to have some sort of a goal or something to look forward to, and that's what I try to do.
But you're not just on the go. When I was doing that introduction, and I do a certain amount of stalking before you come on the show so that I can find things out about you, and I was looking at this and thinking, right, okay, he works a gig, he does this, he does that, he's a father, he's got all those restraints. When do you sleep?
That's a good question. I very little sleep. I work at night, and I chose to work at night only because I need to have my days open. My weekdays, Monday to Friday, because that's when I really get to work on my business and what I'm trying to accomplish. So working at night works for me, and in terms of sleeping, I get it when I get it. 4 hours a day or 5. It all depends on the day or what my schedule is like. So I do get some sleep, enough to keep me going.
I couldn't function on 4 hours. I really couldn't. I would be the most miserable person.
Well, I've been doing it for some time now. I guess I kind of got used to it. You can never really get used to not sleeping. But I guess I've have goals and things that I'm trying to keep up, and I've been doing it for a while, and I don't see that change anytime soon. Unless I start to see some real changes, or in terms of my business and some real success, and I have absolutely no problem with it. Quite honestly, it's perfectly. It seems normal to me, I guess, which it's crazy.
It is crazy, especially when you've got a 5-year-old as well, who obviously doesn't reflect that their dad has gone to bed.
Yeah. It's kind of tough sometimes to kind of, leave the house at night, when he's here, and and sometimes he'll, say, Dad, you got to stay and stuff like that. But it in the long term, it kind of works out because not only that I have my days to work on my business when he's at school, and my wife's at work and stuff like that, but when he comes back from school, I still have the rest of the day to take him to the park and hang out with him and do everything else that I need to do. So it definitely works out, and it works for business, and it works for family time as well.
Well, credit to you on that, because I haven't got my balance right at all. And I mentioned this in a lot of shows. I quit my job, my 9 to 5 job, thinking that I was going to have more time with the family and have more quality time. And at the moment, it's totally the opposite way. And my daughter, my youngest daughter, who's 8, just before we started interviewing here, I rushed off and then managed to put her to bed, and that's the first time I've done it this week. And then flew back, set up, started talking to yourself, and I find it a real problem at the moment of managing to do everything I want to do, but also balance it around the time frames that my family have, i.e. the dinner time, the bedtime, the bath time, and all those kind of things.
Yeah. We actually have a pretty cool schedule workout where not only that we get to have our family time to hang out and go to the park. I love sports. I used to play basketball in high school. So, and my son, he is getting into basketball and sports now. I mean, he's 5 now, and that actually works out for us very well. So I don't see any issues with it, and I think it's not just me, and anybody who has a family and people in their life, that you got to have some sort of you got to have something kind of something work out where it all fits, right? Because family time is really the most important time. I mean, we all talk about business all the time and whatnot, but family is where it's really at.
Do you manage to switch off when you are with your family? Or when you're sitting with your son and you're watching the Muppet movie or something, are you actually focusing in on Kermit and the words of wisdom that Kermit is telling you, or are you thinking about your business?
It on and off. It's kind of a tricky question. But yeah, there are times where I'm still, I have my phone and I'm still checking to see, check my emails and see what's going on, in social media world, and responding to people and tweets and stuff like that. But I try not to make a habit of it. Because like I said, right now, as we talk right now, my son is at school and my wife's at work. And this gives me the perfect time to talk to you and have this interview, and also work on my business. And by the time they come in, I should be done for the day. By the time they come in, and they should be here by, I don't know, maybe about 5 o'clock or 4:30 or so. And by that time, it's family time, and we get to go to the park, and we get to go eat out and do all the things that we need to do, and still have some time left over to come home and watch TV and enjoy my time.
So taking you back in time to the young Herby, in the introduction I was saying you always knew that you wanted to have your own business and you didn't want to work typically 9 to 5. Was there influences in your life, i.e. parents or brothers and sisters, that made you feel that way? Or was it just something that you inherently knew that you didn't want to do?
It's something within me. I can't really say that my parents weren't, they're not entrepreneurs. They've never had any, businesses or anything like that. I guess it's within me. It's one of those feelings, I just couldn't see myself do the whole 9 to 5 thing, even though I am still doing that right now. And I know it's short term. I just don't see it, and especially these days, nothing is secure anymore. You could have your job, you could have had your job for 10 years, 15 years, and nothing's guaranteed, and especially the way the market is going now. So I think the best way to go about this is to kind of take control of your own future, I guess, in a way, right? And not letting, people take decisions on your life. And that's what it's really about for me. It's really about, if I want to go on vacation, if I want to go out, take my family somewhere for a couple weeks, I don't want to have to ask somebody else for permission to do that.
Yeah.
So that's really what it's about for me. It's about having the freedom, really. I mean, making money is great, but if you have the freedom to do what you need to do in your life to be happy, and that's all you can ask for.
No, I agree with that totally. I was having a word with my son, who's 12 at the moment, and I was saying to him, Dan, go to school, learn everything you can, get your grades, but don't think that you need to get a job at the end. I would like to think that my son could go through and learn to create his own income, because that is really, nowadays, that is the true job security, isn't it?
It really is. It really is these days. I mean, I use, I had a before college, before all these things here, before I went to college and I got my associate degree in business, right? And after that, I got myself a job working at of this mortgage broker company, and I was making really good money. It was, and I loved the job, and I was traveling all over the place, and I was happy, and I started buying things that I couldn't afford. Made a few mistakes there, but in the end, should I known any better, I would have start my business right there and then, because I didn't, because I felt that I was safe. I was safe. It was a good job, and I was happy. And little did I know, I got laid off when the market crashed in 2008, and I wasn't able to find a job after that, and it was very hard. And so I made the decision to go back to school to get my bachelor's, thinking that that's gonna solve my problems, and it really didn't. And having your own business, to me, it's very important. Whether you think that these days, a college degree doesn't even, can't really help you anymore. And I'm real honest about this. The system, it's, I don't know, it's the way it's working now. It doesn't fit.
Well,
Um,
I agree with that. And if you listen to episode 18, I believe it was a gentleman called Kenny Felder, and he is a professor, or he's a teacher down in Virginia. And he gets up every day and he does his job, and he teaches people. And he was saying to me, the education system is somehow flawed, and he doesn't know the solutions, but all he knows at the moment is that they're pushing the kids through on a conveyor belt to come out on the other end with education, qualifications, but no necessarily kind of a path to follow. And I used to work up in the city of London, and we used to get management program. So if somebody had a degree, they instantly went on a management program, and they came in on a higher level, which is kind of fair enough. But we used to have people that had a degree in agriculture or farming and things like that, and they were suddenly bank managers. And I could never understand, and I still can't understand actually, the amount of kids that I speak to, and I say, you're going to university? Yes. What are you studying? Oh, I'm studying Roman history or something. And you think, why? What? How many Romans do you come in contact with, and how is that possibly going to help you? Now, somebody's probably going to email me and go, well, actually, because I've got my degree in Roman history, I create viaducts and I develop things. But I can't really see how a qualification in many areas actually does help you.
yeah, yeah. I mean, sometimes we go to school just for the sake of going to school. I mean, even for me, when I started going to college, I knew that I wanted to have a business. It's one of the reasons why I majored in business. But quite honestly, I can't say, I've learned. I learned in school, but I can't say what I'm doing now with my business. I see no relations at all with what I've learned in college. And not to say that it didn't help me. I think it did help me, but I think I could have done what I'm doing now, I think I could have, done it still without going to college. And so, having said that, I think um, education, it's really teaching us how to work for other people, not so much for yourself. So it's if you're looking to, do something better, and have control of your life, and I think even if it's part time, I think everybody should just go ahead and find a way to create something and have something on the side, and not just put all your effort, trying to work for somebody else. You can create that yourself as well.
What is your business? What is your dream business that you're creating at the moment? Just to give the listeners an understanding of where your time is focused.
Yeah. Right now, I have a couple projects that I work on. Obviously, I have the Billionsuccess website, which was the first thing that I ever created. That was me not knowing, anything online and what to do and how to do it. And, I did what everybody else did. I went online and I started researching and I started Billionsuccess. And I started doing these interviews, text interviews. And, because of that, the response that I was getting and the people that I was able to get on the website to agree to do these interviews was amazing to me. I mean, these people wouldn't, I had no idea that they would even say yes to me. And right.
I've been there.
Yeah. And so it was amazing, man. And once I put the interviews and they're sharing it and it's going all over the place, and I'm like, oh my God, there's something here. And I just fell in love with talking to people on the site and doing these interviews. But I knew that wasn't the main business that I wanted to focus on. I always wanted to have my own, startup, software company, so I started going out to events, to startup events here in Connecticut, in my local area. And I went to this one event. It's called Startup Weekend here in Stamford, Connecticut. And that pretty much opened up my eyes in a whole different new way. And it's where I actually met my partner now, Mike Morris, who is a programmer. He owns a couple of different businesses. And at the time, he was looking for a partner for this service that he had, he was working on. And, it's called Triplefy. And, I immediately connected with him and, we started the company and we were in beta for a while. And we put the service out there and we were getting some real response. We had some a lot of good customers, and it was good for about a year and a half. And I, sadly to say, we've decided to not too long ago to discontinue the service. And we're actually stopping Triplefy as of June 15th.
Why is that, Herby?
There's a few reasons. Why. My partner, he owns, like I said before, he owns a couple different other businesses, and he is the main guy. He's the software. He writes all the coding and creates all the platform himself. And his other business is actually his main focus. Okay, so because of that, Triplefy is suffering, not just for him, but for me as well. And when that happens is you lose focus, right? And you can't do too many things at once. And as much as we would like to, you can't focus on so many. You can only focus on so many things, right? And I have the Billionsuccess thing that I think that I'm really passionate about, and we tend to do things that we like doing, right? And right, so because of that, Triplefy suffers, and if Triplefy is suffering, then the customers are not happy, and when that happens, it becomes a full circle. You're working hard, you're trying to get people to sign up for the service, but at the same time, if you're not 100%, in it, then you start losing customers, and we just couldn't figure out a way to keep the service running. We're still discussing the best way to go about it now, but we've, like I said, we've decided to stop the service, and it kind of, and it kills me because, even right now, I get emails from users and people saying, "Oh, I can't believe you guys are stopping the service." That they actually liked it. But yeah, it's one of those things. That's the way it is. You try some things and you do different things. Some work and some don't.
Could you not find somebody to take over from Mike? Could you not carry on with Triplefy?
We still we're still discussing the best way to go about this, and we can. David, that's a good question, and believe me, I've thought about it, and he's mentioned it, and like I said, the decision is not final in terms of how to go about Triplefy, but we're still working that out.
Because the word you said, it's killing me, and that struck home to me that this is something that sounds like one of your first successes, one of your babies, and your baby is now walking around and it's starting to sort of bite its own corner, and you're letting it sort of drift away. That must hurt.
Yeah, it does, man, because we've put in a lot of work into Triplefy, and and like I said, we just can't not find the right match, and I guess the partnership kind of suffers as well, and anytime you have problems, that the partnership is not where it's supposed to be, and the focus, it's really all about the focus, and which I understand, because the other business that he has is actually making some real money. That's his main focus. That's his real business. And we just haven't been able to kind of find the right solution for Triplefy.
A few years ago, I started a very small online company, and it was a betting system. And I started it with my colleague. And I'm not a gambler in any shape or form. I'm the classic, I would rather not lose what I've got than gain something. And he came up with this little system. And he was telling me down the pub one day, and I was having a drink, and he was saying, do you realise if you did this and you did this and you did this, you would pretty much guarantee that you're going to win on a bet? And I said to him, rubbish, that's what everyone says, you're always going to lose ultimately. And he said, no, honestly, if you do this, you do this, you do this, you will, probably 85% of the time you will win the bet you put down. And so I said, look, I'm not putting any money down on this, but I will just, for a paper chase for, 3 months or whatever, see, how it comes out. Anyhow, we plotted it, and he was right. He really was right. And I'm not going to tell people, on here what it was all about, because that's not his place. But he was absolutely right. So we created this online membership, and people would sign up on a monthly basis, and every day we would send them these tips out. And it was very, very successful. And we were getting emails, and people were saying, I'm making more money on this than I was absolutely at work. It's doubled my salary. This is amazing. This is fantastic, and all that kind of stuff. But I had a problem that deep down, I knew that gambling, you could lose. And although we were winning most of the time, in my head, I was thinking it could be possible that you're going to lose all of them, and I couldn't sleep at night for thinking, my God, people are putting their money in here, putting their faith in us, putting their trust, and ultimately, they could lose. And the business suffered due to our differing perspectives on it. He was just, they're getting what they want the tips. Obviously, there's a chance of losing, but I'm going, no, actually, this is people's livelihoods, and no one really gambles if they've got the money. They only gamble because they haven't got the money, and so we actually had to sacrifice the company, and it all got a bit sort of nasty actually, and even to this day, our friendship has never been the same. So in your situation, with a business that has been flourishing and a relationship that obviously has prospered and then dipped down. What have you learned from that? Because I know what I learned, but what have you learned about working with somebody else? Because it now sounds, Herby, that most of the things that you're going to go into, you're going to go in on your own. Is that right?
No, not necessarily. What I've learned from this whole thing, I think, you can't. I don't believe in having a business. You can't run a business by yourself. No matter how much you would want to, you simply can't, because there are certain things, you can only do so much, and you're only good at the stuff that you like doing, and whether it's outsourcing some of the work or create a team of people, the right people around you to kind of work on your projects is the way to go. And my thing is right now, my partner Mike he's an awesome guy. I mean, to even take me on, as a partner to kind of work on the business is, it's amazing. And what I've learned from all this, though, probably going in the future, is if I choose to partner up with anybody else, it'll have to be somebody who's uh, somebody who I can get their 100% focused in the project, meaning somebody who doesn't have any prior engagement or any other businesses or any other projects that they're working on. So it have to be that project 100%. So I think that's what I've learned. If I were to start up something right now, and if me and you were to partner up on something right now, you would have to kind of give me your full focus. I don't want you focusing on, join up the dots and on everything else that you got going on. Let's focus on this for the time being, 100%, and go for it, at full force. So
that's hard though, isn't it? That's hard to find somebody, because I would have thought finding somebody that has got things on their plate means that they've also got the experience. And if you're going for somebody that's got a clean plate, then it's unlikely
not necessarily a clean plate. Just you could have all the experience that you need or have in the past. But I mean, for the time being, right now, if we're working on this, then let's work on this right now. Let's not focus on all the crazy, on all the, the noise out there. And I think that's what I would kind of go for. But I guess it all depends on what kind of business too, right? I mean, if, there are things that you can do part-time and still make, have a lot of success. And there are things when you talk about a software company, something that constantly needs updating, and you got bugs and you got all kinds of crazy things happening, you kind of need to have a good team in place. So when those things do happen, then you can respond to them quickly, because the truth is, the competition is always there. You're not the only one out there. So anytime you slip up, you lose customers, you lose users, and you just don't want to have that, because it's very hard to get people to start using your service. And so when you do get them, you wanna do as much as you can to keep them.
So you have said 2 or 3 times here, you enjoy doing the Billionsuccess blog. That's your passion. That's the thing that really lights you up inside. Why? Why is it particularly that? And you've mentioned it 2 or 3 times.
Yeah, there's a couple reasons, but the main reasons I would say is pretty much just connecting with people, just talking with people like yourself. The opportunities that it creates for me. I mean, before the blog, I had no, I'm a very shy person. It was very hard for me to come out and put something out there. And when I did, and the response was so great, and I was so happy, and I think I still have that feeling till today. Whenever I get a yes for an interview, like if I reach out to anybody and I get a yes, or if I email somebody who I admire, someone that I like, and for them to respond to my email, for me is like a win. I'm happy, and that's still true today. And it's something, and Billionsuccess is it kind of keeps me up. Like I wake up every morning just to go to my inbox to see who responded to my email that I sent last week.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's one of those things, and I think it's, for me, doing this now, it doesn't even feel like work or anything like that, because I like doing it, and I think because of that, there's no way that it's not going to work out, because I would do it for free.
So how did you overcome that fear? As you say, you're a shy individual, and you're creating the Billionsuccess blog where you're reaching out to people, and that's going against your core self, I suppose. So how did you actually change? How did you mentally steel yourself to be able to do that?
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard, but the more that I do it, the easier it gets. The more that I do it, the easier it gets. In the beginning, it was very hard for me to even send out, I use Twitter a lot now. I mean, it was very hard for me to even send out a tweet. I have to check it, make sure everything's spelled right. You know what I mean? And I would tweet something and see there's a typo, and I would go and delete it. I mean, it's crazy, But like I said, the more I do it now, the easier it gets. You never really get over it, and and part of that is because you like doing it so much, so you hate to make mistakes, and you want to be perfect, and quite honestly, there's no such thing as perfect. So and I just really learned a lot from the people that I've talked to, the people that I've met, and learning from their mistakes, right? I mean, you've talked about, I think I listened to one of your interviews, and you talked
just
about...
one, Herby.
I know, well...
10, we'll go on 10 at least.
We are. It wasn't too long ago that I discovered your show, so... But yeah, I think you talked about John Lee Dumas and his podcast, which is awesome. And his show is one of the first show that I ever checked out. I mean, I didn't really know much about podcasts before him. So just listening to his show and listening to everybody else talk about their failures and what they did wrong, and sometimes you think of those people, those successful people, that they never make mistakes, that everything they touch turns into gold, and it's really not the case. So learning other people's stories has been one of the key factor for me to kind of get over the fear of not doing things, and the fear of getting it wrong. It's okay to get it wrong, and that has been one of the big factor for me to kind of get over myself, just to even though I may not know where this is going to be in 5 or 10 years, or even though I may make some mistakes here and there, and I'll know that it's going to be okay in the long run.
Well, at that point, let's bring Steve Jobs in, because I think you've led us beautifully into the theme of the show. And so this is the Steve Jobs speech back in 2005, and we're going to discuss it afterwards, but I think you pretty much said it word perfectly there.
Okay.
Of course, it was impossible to connect the dots looking forward when I was in college, but it was very, very clear looking backwards 10 years later. Again, you can't connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect them looking backwards. So you have to trust that the dots will somehow connect in your future. You have to trust in something, your gut, destiny, life, karma, whatever, because believing that the dots will connect down the road will give you the confidence to follow your heart, even when it leads you off the well-worn path, and that will make all the difference.
Pretty much what you just said, wasn't it?
Yeah, I like that. I love that.
It's
cool.
Powerful stuff, that, because it is so simple. And every single show that I've had, without a doubt. And that's really the main thing that I wanted to get in these shows, is that when somebody starts on the road to success, they haven't got a clue what they're doing. They just have this idea of what they want to do. And I remember episode 8, Pamela Slim was saying, you really have to break everything down into the smallest chunks. And once you've done those chunks, move on to the next chunks. Because if you look at the big picture of what you want to achieve, you're never going to do it because it just seems too big.
Right. It's small successes, small projects and small tasks, and it's all about discipline too. And it's one of those things, I struggle with as well. And I'm sure other people are struggling with it as well. It's about staying disciplined. So when you set something up for yourself, a goal or, a task, something that needs to be done, then, that you're going to get yourself to do it. Because you don't have any managers or a boss or somebody forcing you to do it. So you have to force yourself to do it. And that's the hard part.
I was having a discussion with a gentleman called Greg Hickman, and he is going to be episode 43, okay? And he was saying that one of the problems that everyone has is that we benchmark ourselves against successful people, and we look at our successes as small goals compared to what other people have achieved, just because we haven't seen all those stumbles and falls that they've already gone through. They're ahead of the curve, but we look at them and go, that's where I should be now.
Exactly. And comparing yourself to other people is one of the biggest mistakes that I think that people can make. And I do this, every day. We all do it. It's human nature. And seeing other people's success, but like they never really talk about the failures and what they went through. And so you not hearing that, you think that, man, they just made it, right off the bat. And it's never the case. And I mean that it's never the case. You got to try different things. And I think, and a good example of that, there's a lot of big companies right now that started out as something else. You know what I mean? And I think maybe PayPal started as something else. It wasn't PayPal when it first got started. And, and it's one of those things that you just have to start something. And from that, you could end up, somewhere else, but you can't end up, you can't do nothing and expect to have a future or, find your way. You have to start walking before you can find, where to go.
Why do you think that is? Obviously so true. And I think to a man and a woman, we all know deep down that overnight success isn't founded on truth. Generally, you only hear about these people after they've been doing it for 5 or 6 years underground. But why do we all think that it's not going to work for us? Oh, it's not going to work for us. It's all right for that person. They must have the breaks. They must have the skills. They must have all those kind of things. Because with yourself, Herby, and myself and everybody else, you have not got superpowers that no one else has got.
No. No, it's hard. And again, it goes back to comparing yourself to other people. And you just can't do that because everybody's unique. And my situation is not your situation. We could start the same business right now, and yours could be successful, and mine, I might fail. It doesn't mean that I'm a failure or that you're better than me. It just means that it's different situations, and you might do your podcast a different way. Mine could be a different way. So you can't go comparing yourself to other people, and even I believe there's a formula, something that you can follow to put yourself in the right position. But I don't think there's the right formula, something that you could, if I could just follow, David, maybe I'll be just as successful as him. I don't think it works that way. I think you simply have to kind of put yourself in a position when opportunities come that you're ready for it to take advantage of it. And that's what it's really all about. It's really about putting yourself in the right position and making connections and and networking, and the biggest resources that we have as people, and we don't take advantage of that enough.
I never realized how important networking was until I've started getting this together. And I was never on LinkedIn. I was never on Facebook. I just thought it was noise. And I would go to work and I would come home and I would pride myself that I wasn't on these things. But now I'm doing this and I'm having conversations with amazing people like yourself across the globe. You know, I've spoken to people in Australia and South Africa. Networking is really your net worth, isn't it? You know,
it is.
If everything goes pear-shaped, if you've got that network of support, even though most of the time online we never get to meet the people personally, you have got some kind of safety net somehow, haven't you?
You do, man, and it's cool. It's very cool. Like some of these people that I've talked to online, and we email back and forth with Facebook and LinkedIn, and when you finally meet that person face to face, it's like, oh my God, I've known you forever,
Yeah.
and it's such a great feeling, and to have other people come up to you, and people like you've never met before, and automatically already they know about you, they know your story, and they've read your posts, your interviews, and it's just great. And when you networking and meeting people, it's really what it's all about. And I know people talk a lot about not having money or not having resources to start a business, and like I said, the best resource out there is people. Just go out and tell people what you're trying to accomplish. Chances are you have someone in your network right now that could help you get started.
Yeah, and the key point is when you're reaching out to people, you don't reach out to ask for help. I think you reach out by stating your passion, the thing that you are trying to change. The very first email that I sent out was to Elton John. And I sent it out to Elton John because I knew it wasn't going to go anywhere. It was kind of my kickstart to actually press a button and send something out. The second email I sent out was to a gentleman called Greg Reed, who is part of the Napoleon Hill Foundation. I don't know if you've heard of that. Think and Grow Rich was a classic book.
Yep.
And he came back to me and he said, yeah, sure, brilliant, I'll be on. And it was like, oh my God, I've got a guest. I've got to do this now. And it's really amazed me, and it still amazes me, exactly as you were saying, that people who are beyond you are so eager to help you. And if you're sitting there in a job now, and you're sitting there on the train, or you're on a plane, or you're listening to this conversation, and you've got this idea, and you think, I really would like to do this, but I've got no idea how to do that, reach out. I know it's scary, and I know in your head you're thinking that person's just going to ignore me, that person's too busy, that person's XYZ. But 95% of the time I find they come back with yes, and the 5% they come back with, I'm a little bit busy at the moment, would you drop me a line in 3 months' time?
Exactly. And you never really get a no. It's always, maybe they don't have the time, or maybe not right now, maybe in the future, but you never really get an actual no, thank you, sir, So, it makes no sense not to reach out to the people that you want. And if you're looking for a job right now, this is for just as an example, if you're looking for a job right now, what you're really looking for is somebody to give you that job. You could go out and apply for as long, for as many jobs as you want. These days, unless you have some good references, you don't get a call back. And that's all about people. And that people should really take that to heart, to go out and network. And everybody's important. Everybody's important. The people that you don't think can help you are the ones who usually do.
Why do you think they do? Because even now, I'm an absolute nobody in the online world in any shape or form. Hopefully, my show will gain enough traction and momentum that I will become somebody. And I know now, even at this stage, that if somebody came through and asked for help, I'm going to give it back to them because I've already felt that from other people. But why do you think people do that? Why do you think the successful people, if you can get through to them, that's the problem. There's the sort of gatekeepers and sort of PAs and stuff that, you know, are a problem to get past. But you get to the person themselves and they're so willing.
Yeah, well, part of that, I think, is because they love it. They love what they do. They love what they do. I mean, you're a podcaster, and obviously, if you have a group of podcasting, people, and if they need help, and you're quick to help them because that's what you do. You like what you do, and it makes sense. We hang out with the people that inspires us, or at least I hope we do. And it's about doing the things that you love to do and creating a group of like-minded individual, and that's what you want. You can't do it by yourself, even though we're thousands of miles away, and you can't do it by yourself. Even if you have to be part of a group or a mastermind or anything, just kind of put yourself in that environment of what you're trying to create.
It is amazing, isn't it, that somebody on an island with no one there at all other than them, with a computer and Wi-Fi, could create the world's best business.
That's amazing, and it's why I love the internet. I don't see there's no limit to what you can accomplish on the internet. I mean, you can have the best business in the world and not having an actual storefront, and that's just amazing. And you could do it anywhere in the world. All you need is your computer and, like you said, internet connections, and you're ready to go. And it's very cheap. You don't need much. You don't need much to start something online, and especially for people like me who had nothing. I don't see any other way around it. If you want to start something, do it on the internet and learn, and you'll make mistakes and go from there.
The thing that I was saying in a previous episode was the beauty of creating anything is, until it's successful, nobody notices you. So you can make all the mistakes you want, and your website can be the most ugly website in the world, and your PayPal may not work. And, I'm actually live now, and I've got a website that's out there, and people can go onto it now, and there's certain pages that aren't quite working because the WordPress, I'm not that very good at WordPress, and I can't be bothered, to be honest. And I need to get it sorted out, but I know that because it's early days when we're recording this, then it doesn't really matter. I'm free to make my mistakes while nobody's looking in my direction. Yeah,
you put it perfectly. And you are gonna make mistakes. There's no way around it. Anybody who says they didn't is lying. It's part of the journey, and you always have to learn, and it's keep learning. Just keep learning, and make changes. If something doesn't work, try to change it. Don't keep the same format. And the things that we don't believe will work are usually the ones that do. It's amazing. Try to not, don't try to do what everybody else is doing, I guess, and I'm sure you've heard that many times.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's one of the reasons, although I started a daily show, and I mention his name all the time because it's so obvious that I'm sort of following along the side of him a long way back. But John Lee Dumas was doing a daily show. He's still doing a daily show. But I didn't want to do a daily show of fixed questions. I wanted it just to see where it runs. And some episodes are going to be blinders, and some of them, because of myself failing, are not going to be as good. But I felt that I would learn more by doing it that way than keeping to a fixed script.
Exactly. It's, something different, and different works. Steve Jobs will tell you that.
And he was a man. I might build a podcast around that man's words. Do you know that?
That would be awesome, man. I'll tune in.
Yeah, but just for the one episode, because we've already worked that out, Herbie. Just the one you've listened to.
No, that's gonna change. Believe me. Like I said, there's so many. I'm subscribed to a lot of different podcasts. You know, I love listening to shows on the go, and yours is actually one that I'm already putting in my feed here. So it'll be more than one. Believe me.
You're a special man indeed. So whereabouts are you at the moment? As in, not geographically, but where are your dreams? Because you set yourself a deadline of 5 years to start. Are you still in that 5 years, or have you passed that now?
I am still in that 5 years. When I started, it was in was it 2010, 2010. But the first 2 years, I actually spent a lot of time just procrastinating, just learning. I mean, I didn't even know what WordPress was before this, right? So when I learned about WordPress, it was like, the heavens, opens up, because, I started learning it. I pretty much spent the first 2 years just online researching, playing with WordPress. And, I really started going heavily, in 2012. And right now, where I'm at right now is, obviously take the Billionsuccess to I have a different mindset, and I have a different goal with the site of what I'm trying to accomplish. And of course, I have a couple different other projects in the works that I am not ready to put out there yet.
What are they? What are they? Give us a clue.
All right. Well, I have this thing called the Green Tie Project, and what that is it's gonna be part of the Billionsuccess, and what that is, it's just a platform to help other entrepreneurs get started. And we hear a lot of times how hard it is to get going, and people come up with all kinds of excuses, not having money and not having the resources. So what I'm trying to do is some of the people that I've interviewed, that I've actually gone back to and asked them to sponsor a new startup or a new entrepreneur. And I've had a few yeses, and I've had people like Nelly. She's the founder of CorpNet, and I've reached out to her, and you ever heard of CorpNet?
No, I haven't. No.
It's actually a legal service, online legal service, to kind of get your legal paperwork done when for businesses. So, I mean, she's helped me, and, she automatically says, yeah, she would, give up her services for free to somebody who needs it. I mean, so stuff like that, so basically it's me reaching out to people with the, who have the resources, and just kind of pass on those resources to people who needs them, just, a way just to kind of get people going.
You're providing value.
Yeah. It's all, I mean, there's no reason not to. I mean, it's I've had people help me, and it's only right for me to try to help other people come up as well. I mean, it's it's the way it is.
Well, I wish you success with that. I really do. And that leads us to the end of the show, which is my favourite bit. It really has become my favourite bit, and that is the sermon on the mic. And that is when we send you back in time, Herbie, to have a one-on-one with your younger self. And you can choose any age of younger self you want. It could be the 5-year-old, the 12-year-old, the 20-year-old. It could be about 5 minutes ago. But what kind of advice would you give if you had the opportunity to actually sit down with your younger self? So I'm going to play the tune now, and when it fades out, you're all on your own. And this is the sermon on the mic.
Here we go with the best bit of the show, the sermon on the mic, the sermon on the mic.
Hello, younger Herbie. This is older Herbie speaking to you. My advice to you is, don't care about other people's opinion too much. everything's gonna be okay, and take chances. Be different. Different is good, and it'll all work out. And keep in mind, don't listen to other people's opinion too much.
Well, I hope he's listening. I really do, because it is words for all of us, and I'm making those notes now. Herby, it's been an absolute delight speaking to you, and I'm so disappointed that it's coming up to the hour now, because I could have just carried on chatting to you for ages. I think that you have got a very bright future in front of you. I think you're doing everything the right way. I think, and I'm no expert, it's only my gut feeling, and I think the fact that you are so focused on, supporting your family and building something that provides value to the world, ultimately it's got to come back and make you a very successful individual. So Herby, how can people connect with you?
Yeah, you can find me at Herby at Billionsuccess.com, or I'm very active on Twitter at Billionsuccess. I'm always here to respond, and email me and tweet at me, and I'll respond quickly.
Well, that's the end of the show, and thank you so much for being on today. You've been so open, you've been so honest, you've been the perfect guest, and I really wish you the best of success in everything that you go on to achieve in life, because I believe that by joining up our dots and connecting our pasts, we have the best opportunity to build our future. Herby, thank you so much.
David doesn't want you to become a faded version of the brilliant self you were once to become. So he's put together an amazing guide for you called the 8 Pieces of Advice that every successful entrepreneur practices, including the 2 that changed his life. Head over to joinupdots.com to download this amazing guide for free, and we'll see you tomorrow on Join Up Dots.